Okay, we're going to start out with our first group of plants, our non-vascular plants, which are also called bryophytes. These don't have any special means of transporting water and organic nutrients. They don't have true stems or roots or leaves. You're going to see these living very close to the ground because they can't transport the water and the organic nutrients. Um, the gametophyte is the dominant generation, and this is the only land plant that you're going to see this in. They produce eggs in the archegonia, and they produce flagellated sperm in the antheridia, and the sperm have to swim to the egg in a film of water for fertilization to occur. And here are some examples. You see these on page 96 in your book. You've got here the liverworts. See, it looks like the lobes of a liver, and they have these structures here that are called gemmas, and they can detach and start a new plant. Remember, these are growing very close, right on the surface of the ground. Here you have hornworts, and this is the antheridium of the hornworts, and here are the archegonia of the hornworts. You also have mosses in this group of plants. Now, vascular plants are the dominant plants on land, and these are the ones that have the vascular tissue, or the tubes that carry water and minerals up from the roots to the rest of the plant, and that carry the food, the sugars that are made through photosynthesis, down the stem to the roots of the plant. And this is xylem is one of the vascular tissues that conducts the water and dissolved minerals up from the roots. And the phloem is another tissue that conducts the sugar and other organic compounds throughout the plant. There's also something called lignin that strengthens the cell walls of the conducting cells in the xylem. Most of your seedless vascular plants are homosporous, and the spores are windblown for dispersion. And the seed plants are heterosporous, and they have male and female gametophytes, and the seeds disperse the offspring instead of the spores. Your ferns are called megaphylls, and they have these great big fronds on them that you can see. Here, these are all fronds, the leaves here, and they're divided into little leaflets that you can see. And if you look underneath, you can see some spores that are underneath the leaflets on the fronds. And the dominant sporophyte produces the windblown spores. Looking at the fern life cycle is also in your book on page 102. If you start up here at the top with number 1, the sporophyte, as we said, it's the dominant in ferns. And that sporophyte, on the underside of the leaflet, you've got these sporangia that are located in the sori. So here's a sorus, which is singular for sori, and those are sporangium in there on the underside of the leaflets. And when the sporangia opens up, those spores are released, and the spore germinates into a prothallus, and this is the underside of this prothallus, this gametophyte, and it's got the archegonia here, and it's got these flagellated antheridia, these down here. And remember, archegonia, that's the female, and antheridium is the male sperm, okay? So fertilization takes place when there's enough water that those flagellated sperm can swim and fertilize the archegonium. Okay, so fertilization takes place, and that makes this zygote, and now it's on the underside of this prothallus, and here it is, it's growing up inside an archegonium. And so when that first little leaf appears, above the prothallus and the roots develop below it, that's when you see the sporophyte. And eventually it becomes, you've got that, it develops into a root-bearing rhizome. And here's the little sporophytes with the little fiddleheads. If you know anything about ferns, you may have seen the little fiddleheads, and that's where the frond is going to come from. And there's the sori underneath that have the sporangia inside of them. I didn't point that out. Now, why are ferns useful? First of all, sometimes they're used for food. Now, the only one that's used in the United States in North America is the ostrich fern for food. But a lot of times they are used to fertilize the rice plants in the rice paddies because they have this nitrogen-fixing bacteria that helps with fertilization. In China, they use them for medicines, for boils, pertussis, ulcers, and dysentery. And they inhibit molting, so they're used to kill insects. And they're also used for decoration. We use those a lot here for decoration.